Straight all day.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today we're getting into part one of what will be a two-part series. Let me see if we got two parts here. Yes, a two-part series on how to lose friends and alienate people. Yes, how to lose friends and alienate people. So these are things that you should not do. Okay, just in case anybody didn't get where I'm going with this. When it comes to relationship building and when it comes to communication, building rapport, all that people skill stuff that we talk about here at Work on Your Game. That's what we're going to be talking about over the next 2 days. What to not do. All right, everybody got this? These are not things to do. These are things not to do. Before we get started, let me remind you all, I send out a daily motivation text for free every morning to everyone in my text community. This message is guaranteed. It is already proven and guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. If you don't believe me, text me and find out. My number is 305-384-6894. If I'm not doing what I just told you I'm going to do, just unsubscribe and you can stop getting the number. Stop getting the text. Again, that number is down below in the description. Comes out every single day. You'll get the next one tomorrow morning. Just text me right now and let me know that you want it. Second thing, workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you are an entrepreneur, you're a professional, you're a person who's making money, you want to make more money. You're not making money and you want to start making money. If your mindset is not exactly where you want it to be, your business is not going the way you want it to go, you are not as consistent as you used to be or as you want to be, your mindset is not as bulletproof as it needs to be, you just find yourself not doing things the way you want to do them, you've been trying to do it on your own, you're getting frustrated because you know doing it on your own is only going to take you but so far, you realize that there's a planet with 8 billion people on it and you doing everything by yourself is the most inefficient way to do things, and you're ready to do something different, let me tell you what to do. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Click the button on that page that says schedule a call with me. You will schedule a call. You will talk to me. We'll talk about where you're at. We want to talk about where you want to go, and we're going to figure out what the bridge is between where you're at and where you want to be. I'll tell you how we can cross it and exactly how it will work. That's all. That's exactly what's going to happen. Everything I just told you is exactly what's going to happen. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. While you're listening to me talk right now, go and do that right now. Spots fill up fast. We don't even open that many days on the calendar that often. And when you go there, you'll see that I'm not lying. You'll see that we don't open that many days on the calendar. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you take your next step. You can work with me directly. You listen to this show and you already know that I know my stuff. You already know that I can help you. You already know my style of communication. You're already sold. You're already pre-sold on this because you listen to the show already. So it's not like you're taking a shot on somebody. You have no idea what they're about or who they are or what they talk about or what their style is. You already know all of those things. Just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com while you listen to me talk. Now let's get into the topic. Again, I told you this part one of a two-part series. Subject once again is how to lose friends and alienate people. It's a tongue-in-cheek title because I'm telling you things that you should not do. These are mistakes that you should not make when it comes to communication. I think I called this in my notes conversational mistakes, but this is not really a conversation. We're not talking about just conversation, we're talking about communication, period, because communication is more than just conversation. So since we talked about how to be good in conversation, I've talked about that a lot here on this show. And by the way, at workonyourgameuniversity.com, again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com, that's where you can get, Work on Your Game Podcast, workonyourgamepodcast.com is where you can get access to all the episodes in the history of this show, because the feed that you're listening to me on right now, whether that's Apple or Spotify, that's where most of our listeners come from, the audio version, Apple and Spotify, they only go back maybe 300 to 500 episodes, and we have over 2,500 episodes here on the show. So all the other ones, the other thousands that you're missing, just go to workonyourgamepodcast.com. That's you can get access to all the other episodes. Just go to the number. I'll tell you the number of the episodes so you know where to find it. We also have a list, the master list of every episode in the history of the show. I'm going to go to this website right now because I keep reminding myself there might be some updates that we need to make to the show website just to make sure that we have the whole list on here. So as I'm recording this, I'm going to the page right now. So there's a button when you first come on the page at workonyourgamepodcast.com. There's a big yellow button that says all episodes of the show. When you click on that button, and this button didn't even take you to the spot that's supposed to take you. So at the very bottom of the page, the very bottom, you click a button that says see full episode list. You click on that and it has a list of every episode in the history of the show. So let me tell you how to navigate this list in case any of you doesn't know, if you're not super internet savvy. When you click this button and all the lists in the history of the show comes up, all you do is click Command F or Control F. That brings up the find function in your browser. When you click the find function in your browser, now you just type in the subject that you're looking for. So let's say you're looking for episodes on communication. All right, and you start typing in the word communication. What you're going to see on your browser window is going to start highlighting every time that the word communication shows up on this page, and you will see, for example, episode 2208, how to be precise in your work, communication, and results. Episode 2026, you're not listening, they are. Your communication just sucks. Episode number 1779, how to communicate with impact. Episode 776, the 7 biggest communication mistakes people make. Episode 1399, working on your nonverbal communication game. So I'm just showing you that just to give you some examples that we are giving people what they need when it comes to communication on this show. And I just gave you a couple episodes. We probably have a double-figured number of episodes, double-digit number of episodes where we talked about communication, and I don't always use the word communication in the title. Those are just the ones with the word communication in the title. All that said, I'm giving you a lot of background here. Since we talked about how to be great in conversation, we also got to mention the common faux pas, which we will be doing today and tomorrow, that people commit that lead to poor and weakened relations via failed communication. Make sure you are not committing these errors that we're going to talk about over the next 2 days. I'm going to tell you what they are, I'm going to tell you how they happen, and I'm going to tell you what they look like so that you can check yourself and make sure you are not doing these things. Everybody got it? Good. Point number 1. Today's topic, once again, is how to lose friends and alienate people. These are mistakes to never make in communication. Number 1, failing to listen. This is a pretty simple one. Failing to listen is a good way to lose friends and alienate people. It's a great way to fail in communication is to not listen. Remember that communication is not just what you say, it is also your ability to let other people say what they want to say. We just talked about this yesterday and how to make people feel heard. You want to make people feel heard in conversation? Listen to them. You want to make people feel like you don't value them? Don't listen to them. Or make them feel like you're not listening to them. Understand that listening does not mean you can regurgitate somebody else's words, folks. Again, listening does not mean you can be a court stenographer and you can repeat back to them what they just said. Listening means the other person feels as if you have taken in what they are saying and you understand it not only logically but also emotionally and also directionally, meaning you know where they're trying to go even if they're not good at getting there. Again, this is called active listening. It is a soft skill. Whether or not you have listened to another person is 100% based on their assessment of whether or not you have listened. Not what you think, what they think. 100% on them. They 100% hold the cards to whether or not you have listened or not is if they think you have listened. Now, I will offer you one out clause to this, is that sometimes you are talking to someone who is not communicating in good faith. Sometimes you're talking to someone, I'm going to talk about this over this 2-part series, I'm going to address this type of person because these people do exist. Sometimes you're going to talk to someone who is simply not communicating in good faith. Their whole angle is to just try to prove their point or prove you wrong, or they're just trying to start an argument, and they're not really trying to come to any common ground. They're not really trying to have a civilized discussion. They're just trying to be negative or combative or whatever they're trying to be, or just be a dick or a bitch about the situation for whatever reason because they're in a bad space. And it's not really about you. So sometimes if you're dealing with that type of person and they're accusing you of not listening to them, that's the type of person you shouldn't be communicating with in the first place. So I would consider that, honestly, that's a relationship error on your part, because why are you even talking to that person in the first place? You should have seen them coming from a mile away. So if you're talking to that type of person, then you have a right to, if they say you're not listening to them, then that one you could just chalk up to the game. You could just chalk that one up and exit from the conversation and don't deal with that person ever again. Now, if you deal with that person again, now is your fault because you already know who they are. So this shouldn't happen twice. If it happened once, it should not happen twice. Y'all know the saying, fool me once, shame on me. No, was it fool me once, shame on you? Fool me twice, shame on me. All right, so if you know this person is that type of person, do not get in that type of conversation or even converse with this type of person any further than you need to. Remember what we talked about in episode 1058. You got 2-minute people, 2-day people, and 2-hour people. Sometimes you're dealing with a 2-minute person and you shouldn't give them more than 2 minutes of conversation, and that's not enough time to get into a disagreement. All right, that's enough time to talk about the weather. Hey, how are the kids? And it's time for you to find somewhere else to be. All right, everybody got it? So this point here, I'm out of the exception now. Now I'm back to the rule. This is the hardest one for many people to learn, the ability to listen and make other people feel heard, because you don't have control over this one like you have control over the other 5 points that I'm going to share over these next 2 episodes. But you do need this ability anytime you're trying to establish rapport and a connection with another person, and you want to show another person empathy. They have to feel like you're listening to them. All right, even if what they're saying is you don't even want to hear it, but you still got to make them feel like you're listening to them. Moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to lose friends and alienate people. These are mistakes to not make in communication. Getting into battles of semantics over directional meaning. If you're battling with someone over semantics, what they said, the exact word that they use, if they misuse the word, they use the wrong tense or wrong term or wrong conjugation of a word, that's a battle over semantics. When you clearly understand the direction, what they were trying to say, even if they didn't say it too well, or someone else does this to you, this is a mistake in communication and is a good way to lose friends and alienate people. Again, you are not going to gain anything by doing this. It may serve your ego temporarily, but you don't actually gain anything. Remember, everybody, especially those of you who listen to this show, not everyone is as skilled at communication, and not everyone is as articulate as you are. So, listen closely, understand the direction someone is trying to go, even if they fail to get there, even if they are not as clear about it as you would or could be. This is a listening skill, because again, a good listener doesn't need the person that they're listening to speak perfectly for them to understand what they're trying to say. Let me say that one again. A good listener does not need the person that they're listening to say things perfectly for you, good listener, to understand what they're trying to say or where they're trying to go. You can decipher the point that someone is trying to get across, even if they are very sloppy at getting that point across. That's what a good listener does. Good listener does not require someone to be precise in their verbiage. Now, you may require yourself to be precise, and you should be precise in your verbiage. I talked about this in episode number 2208, how to be precise in your work, communication, and results. You should be precise, but you should not demand that everybody else be precise. Why? Because most people ain't as good as you when it comes to communication. Communication is a skill that they should teach this more in school. I know there's a degree for communications, but I don't think they're talking about the kind that I'm talking about here. This is something that everybody could benefit from, the ability to communicate, the ability to get your point across to multiple people at once, public speaking, your ability to listen. All of these are things that they should have college majors based around these things, but they don't because, well, who's qualified to teach it? Not the professors. Hey, no disrespect to the professors listening to this, but let's be honest. All right, so you need to get good at this. Understanding what point somebody is trying to make, again, even when they suck at making it. This is a listening skill. You have to give a bit of grace to other people when communicating with them, especially if you're trying to build rapport with them. If you want to establish connection with them and you want to get cooperation from them, give them a little bit of grace, meaning they're not quite making sense, but you're going to let them say what they want to say anyway. If you're a frequent user I use social media, I use all the social media apps every day. I use Twitter. Twitter is like my news source. That's where I go to get news and see what people are saying about the news. If you're a frequent user of Twitter, then if you ever have dived into, and I don't suggest you do if you're not the type, you ever dive into the comment section on social media and see people who do not know each other, may not even be real human beings, arguing with each other over small, detailed points on a conversation that has nothing to do with either one of them, is usually because they're making this very mistake. They're arguing over semantics. They're arguing over the details instead of getting the directional meaning of what each other means. Usually this starts because people disagree on the point. So you understand that the person disagrees with you, right? So you get their direction, but you still want to argue over semantics. All right, this is a fool's errand. Do not do this. Don't get pulled into it. Do not get sucked into it. When someone tries to do it to you, don't say anything back to them. Just let them be and let it go. All right, this is a mistake. It's a waste of your time, energy, attention, and focus. Your most valuable resources. And it doesn't help you win friends or influence people. If your goal is to influence people, because influence equals power, and power allows you to get things done in life and achieve the things that you want. So do not get sucked into this, and you run into people who do this. Those are 2-minute people. Might not even be 2 minutes, might be 2-second people, and let them go. Although I should add, all right, sometimes, here's an exception to this, or a caveat, it's not really an exception, caveat. Sometimes people use this very thing, this faux pas, as an offensive technique when they want to make somebody look bad. So for example, if Democrats and Republicans are arguing on social media, they may do this on purpose to make the other person look bad, because that's the whole game. But understand that they're playing their game. Their game is the Democrats supposed to make the Republicans look bad, the Republicans supposed to make the Democrat look bad. I'm just using that as an example because all you understand what I mean. That's their game. That's their hustle. Now, if that's not your hustle, you should not get sucked into that. Everybody get what I'm saying here? Good. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to lose friends and alienate people. These are mistakes to never make in communication. Ask someone to make a point, ask someone a question so that they can answer it, and then when they answer the question, you move the goalposts and change what you asked for to something different. All right, this is a classic tactic that people use when they are trying to be right rather than trying to have a productive discourse. Again, this goes back to what I talked about in point number 1. If you run into people who do this, these are 2-minute people. They should not get more than 2 minutes of your attention and time, and therefore that's not enough time for them to suck you into one of these back and forths. Someone does this, ask for a point, then they move the goalposts, just exit the conversation, cut your losses, all right, just accept that, all right, this was just not a good conversation to get into. That person's a 2-minute person, you already gave them their 2 minutes, and you will give them no more minutes of your life. That's enough. This is a classic tactic that people use when, again, they're just trying to be right. They're not trying to have a productive discourse. See, productive discourse is a give and receive. I give you something, you give me something. I ask a question, you answer it. You ask a question, I answer it. We go back and forth. We are both trying to learn something and kind of get our points across. Again, this is becoming, unfortunately, in the world that we're in today, this has become less and less common because so many people are trying to win points and kind of slam dunk on people, especially when they disagree on specific topics. There are certain topics that lead to these conversations more than others. We'll get to that in a moment. This has become a more common tactic used these days, especially on topics such as politics, religion, any type of social issues where you get strong, people are very strongly in their corners. It's not like some topic where people are open to discussion, where it may be, which musical artist do you like better? Which band do you like better? Or which basketball team do you think is better than the other basketball team? Even in those conversations, you get people talking crazy. But these other ones are ones where people they just plant their flag and they will never change their entire lives no matter what they see, hear, or experience. Like politics, religion, or some form of social issue. People just get into their corners and they are never coming out of that space, and they will just fight to the death regardless of anything that happens. On those subjects, be very careful who you engage with, because the majority of people that you engage with are so dug into their position that they are not really trying to have a productive discourse. What they're trying to do is just prove their point, and they will use you or anyone else to win points, again, just for their ego or for their audiences, because they're not really trying to get anywhere positive. All right, so they will move the goalposts on you, they'll change the subject on you, they will do things that are all designed to gaslight or annoy you, or again, they're just trying to win points. They're not trying to win friends, they're trying to win points. And if you get sucked into this, what you're going to do is alienate people and lose friends in the process. So when you catch somebody else doing this, or you notice somebody else doing it, exit stage left. All right, these are just not your people. Okay, these are the people who will say anything. They will ask anything, or they will change the argument to anything just to make themselves right and to prove their opposition, which again may be some random person on the internet, just to prove that person wrong. All right, there's this old meme from years ago where there's a woman laying in bed and she looks over her shoulder and her husband is sitting at the desk in the bedroom on the computer, and you can see the light from the computer screen, and the woman says to the husband, "Honey, come to bed." And the husband turns over his shoulder and says, "No, honey, I can't come to bed. Somebody's wrong on the internet." And that's what happens when you get sucked into these debates. All right, so do not get sucked into these. There are people who are really good at this stuff because it's the only thing that they do. All right, you don't have to go to their level. Remember, 2-minute people, 2-hour people, and 2-day people. Which one are you talking to when you get in these conversations? It may serve your ego in the moment, but it does not bridge the gap between you and another person, nor does it actually add to the silence in the space. If you cannot improve the silence, don't talk. So are you asking someone for a point because you are seeking to learn? Are you trying to cure your ignorance and actually learn something? Or are you just trying to prove a point? Now again, caveat, If just proving a point and slam dunking on people on the internet serves your purpose, because that's part of your business model, is slam dunking on people on the internet and proving your point and seeking out the opposition and making them look bad and just doing that over and over again because that helps you gain followers or it gets you a book deal or it gets more views to your posts or more likes to your stuff, and that's part of your actual business model. You can draw a line between that and you actually making money. If you can do so, then you do it. If you're not one of those people, and it ain't that many of them, if you're not one of those people, do not engage in this nonsense. All right, it's a waste of your resources. Remember, you have 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, and focus. You should be using them towards the ultimate outcomes, the definite chief aims of your life. If that's not one of them, do not do this. All that said, let's recap today's class. This is part 1 of 2, how to lose friends and alienate people. These are communication mistakes to never make. All right, we talked about how to be good in conversation, and we're going to point out the things that people do that they might not even know that are bad communication skills. Number 1, failing to listen. Listen does not mean that you can regurgitate what somebody else says. Again, you're not a court stenographer. It means another person feels heard. They feel like you have actually taken in what they said. This is called active listening. It is a soft skill. It's one of the best soft skills you can develop if you want to get people on your side. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, you want to get people on your side, especially in sales. Number 2, getting into battles of semantics over directional meaning. Again, give people the benefit of the doubt of what they're trying to say rather than going into the details of what they actually said. You don't want to do this unless you're in a court of law and you're actually trying to defeat them in detail. That's the only place where this actually matters. Or again, if you're trying to slam dunk on people in a social media comment battle. And if that's not part of your business model, don't get into it because it will suck your time away. It's not worth it. Remember, 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days. How much time is a person worth to you? Number 3, ask for a point, then move the goalposts. This is a classic tactic that people use when they're just trying to be right rather than have productive discourse. Again, if you run into a person who is doing this, you don't have to hear them. Just exit the conversation, and you have already given them 2 minutes. That means you should never make this mistake again. You do it twice, now I gotta blame you. All right, the first time I'll blame them. Second time we gotta blame you because you should have known better. All right, and this is especially prevalent on topics like politics, religion, or some form of social issues where people get dug into their corners and they're unwilling to learn, listen, or change their minds, regardless of what information or experiences they are exposed to. So be careful, especially on those topics when it comes to these things, because there are people who do this and they're really, really good at it because that's all they do. They don't do anything else. Those are the 2-minute people. Do not waste your time there unless this is what you do for a living. If you don't do it for a living, stay out of that space. It's not the place to be, as they say. Mud wrestle with a pig, the pig likes it, and you get dirty. All right, nobody gains anything. All that said, tomorrow we're gonna go into part 2 of this, and we're gonna talk about a couple more things that you should never do in communication when you're trying to win friends and influence people. Text me, 305-384-6894. Tell me the best insight you got from today's class, and workonyourgameuniversity.com. You're ready to be coached on your communication skills, your people skills, your sales skills, your learning skills, your moving your business forward skills, your mindset. You want to get your mindset in the right place. You're trying to get your stuff organized. You're just trying to get your shit together in whatever area that you have heard me talk about or you think I can help you with. Maybe you didn't even hear me say it. I probably have, but you just didn't know about it. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. I'm here. Let's make it happen. Work on your game. Dre all day.